Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like because you won't want to blink during this one, because once this story grips you, there's no letting go. Comment your theories below, but be warned, some truths are darker than anything you've imagined. Los Angeles, September 8th, 2025. The late afternoon sun hung low over the city, painting the streets in bruised oranges and purples, but the fading light did nothing to soften the horror waiting behind closed doors. A Tesla, parked inconspicuously in an industrial lot, seemed ordinary at first glance. Its sleek frame gleamed under the dim streetlights, nothing out of place except for the faint, foul stench curling from its front trunk, the kind of smell that makes your stomach turn and your pulse spike. Detective Lillian Reyes was first on the scene, her boots crunching on gravel as she approached the car. She had been on the force for nearly 15 years, and she had seen plenty of things that made most people vomit. But this was different. The air was heavy, thick with something that didn't belong in a city of millions. Her flashlight caught the Tesla's front latch, a subtle detail that would unravel everything in the coming days. Inside, wrapped in a worn dark canvas bag, were human remains. The body, according to the preliminary assessment, had been there for weeks, the heat and decay weaving an almost unnatural tapestry across the skin. Identification would be difficult, but already whispers circulated among the officers. This car was registered to someone known in the music world, someone whose songs had trended on TikTok, whose lyrics had millions of streams. David Anthony Burke, known professionally as D4D, was a 20-year-old rising star with a reputation for melancholy hits and mysterious visuals. Outside the cordon, reporters and onlookers craned their necks, their phones already recording, but no one could comprehend what had just been uncovered. And inside the police tape, evidence techs were meticulous. Every fingerprint, every fiber could be the difference between a solvable case and a headline that faded by morning. The victim's identity came slowly, painfully. Celeste Rivas, 15, missing since April of the previous year from Lake Elsinore, California. Her disappearance had made local headlines, but had largely faded from public memory. Her family had never stopped searching, never stopped hoping. Now, hope had curdled into nightmare. A teenage girl, vanished for months, discovered in the frunk of a luxury car registered to a rising music icon. The connection between Divad and Celeste was more than the car. Investigators noted a strange detail. Both carried a small tattoo on their right index finger, an inscription that read, "Shh." The shared symbol hinted at a connection far deeper than casual acquaintance, sending chills through the team. Questions swirled. How had she ended up here? Was this accidental, tragic, or intentional? And why had no one noticed before? As the sun dipped further below the horizon, shadows crept across the lot like dark fingers stretching into the corners of everyone's minds. And then, tucked beneath the driver's seat, hidden beneath layers of dirt and grime, came the first piece of evidence that would shift everything. A crumpled, handwritten note. Its words were almost illegible, but one line screamed in jagged ink, "I warned you to stay quiet." Detective Reyes felt the weight of the case settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just a missing person investigation anymore. This was personal, dangerous, and messy. Someone knew more than they were saying, and as she looked at the Tesla, gleaming innocently under the streetlights, she knew this was only the beginning. Because when they opened the glove compartment, what they found next would change everything. Detective Reyes stared at the Tesla, her mind racing. The glove compartment had been unlocked, but it didn't contain cash, weapons, or even a personal ID. Instead was a small black USB drive, taped carefully to the floorboard. Her partner, Officer Marcus Holloway, picked it up with gloves, the weight of it heavy in his hand. In this case, every detail was a lead, every small object, a possible confession or a trap.
Back at the evidence lab, the drive revealed what seemed almost surreal. Encrypted video files and chat logs between DVD and someone labeled only as C. The messages were cryptic, flirtatious, but increasingly dark. The videos were even worse, shot in dimly lit rooms, often featuring Celeste alone, smiling, unaware of the shadows lurking just outside the frame. Every message and clip painted a chilling picture. Someone had been keeping close tabs. Someone had orchestrated her disappearance down to the smallest detail. Meanwhile, the media frenzy outside the LAPD headquarters was relentless. Fans couldn't reconcile the image of the sensitive, melancholic singer with the nightmarish headlines. Social media exploded. TikTok clips of DVD performing his viral song Romantic Homicide circulated with the hashtag #DVDBody. News outlets across Europe and the United States splashed the story. Teenage girl found dead in the Tesla of rising music star. The story wasn't just local, it was global. Detective Reyes' team dug deeper. Surveillance footage showed Celeste entering a music studio in Los Angeles months ago, accompanied by a young man matching DVD's description. Witnesses remembered her laughter, bright and carefree, but she never left the studio that day. Officers combed through phone records, social media interactions, and public appearances. Every corner of her life was scrutinized, but the more they uncovered, the more the picture darkened. Then came an unexpected lead. A neighbor had reported seeing a second car near the lot, a dark SUV parked for hours the night before the Tesla was discovered. The driver was unidentified. Could this have been an accomplice? Or was it someone investigating DVD from the outside? The case was expanding, branching into a network of shadows that no one could yet map. The twist came when Reyes received an anonymous tip. Celeste's mother had been called by someone claiming they had seen her daughter after the disappearance. The voice was distorted, robotic, but the words hinted that someone had been manipulating both the girl and the young singer for months. And then, in the middle of the night, surveillance footage from the Tesla lot revealed another chilling detail. Fingerprints not belonging to DVD, pressed into the hood as if someone had staged the car for discovery. As days passed, the investigation intensified. Detectives discovered that DVD's social media posts had subtle changes, images deleted, captions altered, and cryptic lyrics suddenly removed. Some collaborators spoke off the record, saying he had grown paranoid, almost reclusive after the girl went missing, but no one knew whether the fear was justified or an act of guilt. And then, just when it seemed the investigation was reaching a dead end, a hidden compartment in the Tesla's rear trunk was uncovered. Inside, partially charred and soaked in what forensic teams later confirmed as chemical residue, were what appeared to be personal items of Celeste: her diary, a small locket, and an unopened envelope with her handwriting. Every piece of evidence now suggested deliberate concealment, not accidental death. Detective Reyes leaned over the trunk, heart pounding. Whoever had done this had planned it meticulously. Someone had orchestrated not just her disappearance, but her silence, leaving breadcrumbs that pointed towards fame, obsession, and betrayal. And then came the call that would change everything. The lab had found a match for the second set of fingerprints, and they belonged to someone Reyes never expected. Detective Reyes stared at the printout from the lab, her hands trembling slightly despite years on the force. The fingerprints from the second car, the SUV spotted near the Tesla, belonged to someone she never would have suspected. Celeste's music teacher, Gregory Halston, a man known in the local scene for his charisma and connections. On paper, he was a mentor, a guide, someone the community trusted. In reality, he had been a ghost moving in the shadows, orchestrating a web of manipulation that stretched far beyond anyone's imagination. Reyes retraced the timeline. Gregory had been working closely with both Celeste and DVD in the months before her disappearance. His influence was subtle but relentless. He'd encouraged DVD to include Celeste in projects, praising her as a muse, but behind the scenes, he had been controlling every interaction, ensuring Celeste's movements and relationships were monitored. The matching tattoos, not a coincidence. They were Gregory's idea, a twisted signature marking his influence, a symbol of secrecy that tied the singer and the girl together under his control. Armed with warrants, Reyes and Holloway moved to Gregory's home. The neighborhood was quiet, deceptively serene, as if it had nothing to hide. But behind the closed doors, the atmosphere was suffocating. Inside, they found walls covered in photos, charts, and scribbled notes connecting DVD, Celeste, and dozens of other young, aspiring artists. It was an obsession, meticulously mapped out, a control network designed to manipulate, to observe, to dominate. Then they discovered the final piece of evidence, a hidden compartment in the basement accessed through a false wall in the garage. Inside, dozens of personal items belonging to Celeste and other young girls were neatly stored: diaries, locket charms, school photos, and letters. It was both meticulous and monstrous. The depth of Gregory's planning was staggering. He hadn't acted alone in orchestrating Celeste's disappearance, but he had been the unseen architect. Meanwhile, DVD sat in interrogation rooms for hours. His expression was hollow, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. He admitted to knowing Celeste had been in danger, but insisted he had been manipulated himself, coerced into silence by Gregory's shadow over their creative world. The investigation revealed that he had tried, in his own flawed way, to protect her once he realized what was happening. But his fame, naivety, and youth had left him powerless against someone as calculated as Gregory.
The public watched in shock as the pieces came together. Media coverage painted D4D as both a tragic pawn and a figure of public fascination. Celeste's family struggled with conflicting emotions. Relief that someone had been identified as responsible, but anger and grief over the months lost in the secrecy that had allowed it. In the final twist, forensic teams determined that Celeste had likely been killed in a separate location months before the Tesla discovery. The front had been a deliberate staging, an attempt to tie the crime to D4D's rising fame and divert suspicion from the true mastermind. It was a psychological game, one played on a national stage, designed to shock, confuse, and manipulate. Detective Reyes stood outside the police precinct late at night, staring at the city skyline. Justice had been served in part. Gregory Halston was in custody, facing multiple charges, but the haunting truth lingered. The shadows of obsession, control, and betrayal stretched far beyond one car, one singer, and one girl. They thought the mystery was solved, but as Reyes looked at the cold streets of Los Angeles, she knew the echoes of what happened would ripple for years to come. If you think this story was intense, wait until you see what's next. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the darkest stories lurking just beneath the surface.